Hi guys, today we are receiving Raman of CryptoJobsList, who is going to talk about the job market for blockchain developer. Welcome, Raman.
Thanks, Julian. Excited to be back on the channel. Really happy to see you again and talk to you and to your
So
audience as well.
So it's the second time that we have Raman on the show. He already came, I think, a few years ago. He's going to tell us how the job market has changed since this time. But first, Raman, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. So I'm Raman. I'm a founder of CryptoJobsList. The leading job board in crypto space. I launched it back in I think October 2017, and we've been growing since then, and it's been pretty crazy. My personal background is mainly technical, so I read code. And I mostly write, TypeScript, JavaScript, kind of full stack stuff. I try to spend more time on Solidity as well. But yeah, these days, a lot of my time is just dedicated to growing the job board and helping companies and talent match. Even though I don't really personally do recruitment, but I just do my best to build the best tools and build the best platform for these connections to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you are really a perfect example of an indie hacker, like an entrepreneur who started as a small project. And yet it grew little by little to now become like really the first crypto job board in the industry. And so you who have a really good vision on what's happening for the job market, can you tell us how the job market evolved from when you started to now?
Right. So I think I think we talked around 2018-ish, and I've been running it since 2017. So I think it's been quite an interesting waves, especially if you're looking at it from like technical job perspective, technical positions, technical roles. Is that I think 2017, a lot of founders were there who were looking for, CTO with 6 years of Solidity. And I think Solidity at the time was just 3 or 4 years old. And all of them were looking for those co-founders and CTOs just to basically raise an ICO and buy a boat and sail away. And kind of the average quality of projects were really low, I'd say. I would say there are people who kind of started those crypto companies with almost zero startup experience or any zero business experience, but they just thought that, it is a money grab situation. And I think some of them, got lucky, and hopefully IRS did not pursue them. But so they managed to get away with it, and maybe it was a good opportunity for some technical talent. And then I think in 2018, 19, with the drop in prices, kind of overall sentiment went down a little bit. So I personally believe that was one of the best times to hire and as well as to look for a job, because there was fewer opportunities available and fewer people interested in the space. And people who were actually interested in hiring, you would know that they're actually there for the long term, and they're not someone who learned about crypto just yesterday and are there just for the fast money. And so I think going into 2020 and 2021, what I'm seeing actually is a lot of very high quality projects that are hiring, a lot of things in DeFi space, of course, a lot of layer 1, layer 2 solutions that are hiring. To be honest, I haven't really even seen anyone hiring for initial coin offering or initial token launch. I do to be honest, I think past few months I've been getting a few DMs, people asking hey, I want to deal with my own blockchains, I want my own Satoshi Nakamoto. And it's clearly, you can see that the message is it's not just someone who learned about crypto yesterday, literally, and they heard the buzz. They do not know what is it about, but they want it, and they start DMing me, and I'm sure you're getting similar messages from people who just help me clone the whole Ethereum, or help me clone the whole Bitcoin, and my Bitcoin will be better than existing one. And which is kind of, after a while, it just gets a bit, taxing to even respond to these messages, because that the conversation is not going anywhere. But anyway, the good part is I think the number of high quality projects is through the roof, and almost everywhere you go will be relatively kind of mid-sized, the bigger team for pretty much a whole range of technical roles. Not only blockchain at their core, but also a lot of those adjacent roles which require either DevOps, front end, back end engineering, things like that. Yes, so I think that's kind of my
You know,
two sats overview of the market right now.
I've noticed similar trend. As you mentioned, that now there are companies a little bit bigger in blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
So like every Monday I do this live stream on the news and of blockchain, and now every Monday I report like some company that raised like a huge sum. Like last week it was Alchemy that raised $80 million. The week after another $100 million. Like we see this huge amount, and yeah, even last year we didn't see this so much. So of course for developer this is really bullish for them, because of course a lot of this money will be used to pay developers. So that's really a good news. And so we have all these bigger companies that start to hire. And what is the difference in terms of their requirements compared to the kind of company you used to see before, like the smaller companies?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. Let me think in terms of difference of requirements specifically. I think there is a bit maybe high expectations in terms of like maturity. Like if someone's hiring for like a senior blockchain dev or a senior Solidity dev, kind of every year the requirements go higher just because the industry has been around for longer. And I think there's more and more tools that are available, and there is more and more, for example, different hacks that happened in the space. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the employers, they would be asking those questions of like, hey, do you know what actually happened at the DAO hack, right? Can you explain to me, right? And if you're able to explain and you know this situation that happened, or like, BZX hack, right? And if you're able to explain what happened there and you can show it with confidence, is definitely a really, really good sign for you as a candidate, that you're not just someone who like, oh, just check the boxes of like knowing a few functions or like syntax, right, of language, but you're actually signaling to the employer that you're someone who's been in the industry, you care about it, you know what's going on. So knowing all these like different events, especially from technical standpoint of view, and also from cultural, like all the memes, I'd say all the crypto memes is definitely something that not only will set you apart, but it's something that a lot of companies are kind of expecting. They do not just want to hire, like, I mean, of course, as much as raw intellectual kind of horsepower is important, like having someone who's part of the industry, having someone who is like a same degen as they are, and it's something that companies are looking for, right? And I think it's one of the best things about this industry is like, if you're trying to apply for a job in any other place, it's going to be very formal, even if you're, I don't know, like, I don't even know what's the other industry that will be this kind of warm and meme like, if you're applying for machine learning or just whatever, front end, back end, doesn't matter which position in which industry, there will be always some kind of, formalities. You need to be, use some language. But I think in crypto, you can, even if you're applying for like Coinbase or some huge fund, I don't know, 3 Arrows Capital, or I don't know, Open Zeppelin, I don't know, anywhere, you gonna, people are degenning there. They're all enjoying the common lingo, and I think that really helps break the ice if they're speaking that language.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point. Like, this industry is not really comparable with the other niche in tech, in that we have this culture, this very strong culture, and you don't necessarily have something as powerful in other area. And like, for example, I do think one of the sort of common belief that we all have is well, everybody wants to make money, that's for sure, but everybody also believes that crypto can really help to change the world, change the financial system, etc. So there is this culture that I feel like if you can express it, that can help you a lot. Something almost political, but not in the traditional sense, because of course with crypto we don't do politics. It's more about changing the world with the technology. And I do think like if you can communicate this passion, then it's definitely going to be very positive for you.
I think when you mention politics, I think what you're referring to is like the kind of religious and maxi sort of wars between different platforms, and Yeah. I don't know if that's what you want to get into on this channel,
No,
but
no.
I mean, I'm happy to talk about this as well.
Maybe a little bit more, not about like big maxi of any specific blockchain, but just believing in the mission of crypto in general.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get carried away, kind of defending their bags more than thinking about the our all common shared mission. I mean, of course, I'm not defending like the outright scams out there. You want to stay away from them, and like, or if you're speculating, be aware that you're speculating, not investing, and what are you supporting. But yeah, I think the overall mission is important not to forget that while you're kind of advocating whatever platform you're advocating.
And one thing that I noted in the crypto industry is that so before it was already very remote friendly, but now with COVID, it's almost the default. And is it something that you see in your job posting?
Yeah, I think like with I think for other industries, it's even bigger shift, but I think for crypto, it's kind of accelerated kind of remote work even further. But I'd say like, again, crypto is such a decentralized, such a remote industry that already, so I think it maybe made only like 10-20% change, but so it's not as significant. COVID didn't have a significant impact on crypto remote work kind of workforce as it did on some other industries, I think. I think another thing is like, for example, last year a lot of countries had a lockdown, and like people were expecting like weather is going to increase kind of demand for remote work, and I think it did. Not only within crypto, but also outside. In kind of all my friends who run kind of remote job boards, they also kind of saw like a huge spike in traffic for non-crypto positions as well. But definitely from what I'm seeing, a lot of companies that operate, regardless whether they're in US or in Asia or in Europe, they all very welcoming remote talent. I think maybe just to comment on Asia a little bit more is that most of the companies in the mindset here, like we're both in Southeast Asia, I think on the same time zone, but I think traditionally here companies would be more kind of leaning towards in-office work, right? A bit more conservative, but I think I'm seeing more and more crypto companies that are in Asia, and they're more open to again, like to remote developers, to community managers, to non-technical talent as well, that is based globally.
Can we talk a little bit of what are the main crypto hubs on the planet?
Right. Good question. So I think like Europe is pretty big on development, and a lot of like high quality projects are coming from there, specifically Berlin. I think like followed by maybe London within Europe. But with I think globally that would be US, of course, like San Francisco. But I think San Francisco is a mixed bag. Last time I was there, it was kind of interesting to see kind of this. There's kind of polarity of like some companies are like all in their crypto focus. A16Z has their own crypto fund, but at the same time, another part of San Francisco and like Valley people, they like just don't get it, and they think that they're happy with their Venmo, which I can't blame them, because US was at some point like kind of very advanced in terms of financial services. But I think now, wait until you try to wire transfer internationally and see how much pain that is compared to wiring and transfer, on Ethereum or on Bitcoin. And I mean, I'm not even talking about.
Talking of Silicon Valley, so I heard some other founder in crypto that told me that there is this huge outflow of people from SF that are going elsewhere. So in the south of the US, in the region of Austin, and also in Miami, who apparently is becoming a new crypto hub. So do you confirm or deny?
Yeah. So I think like I cannot really confirm that much because I'm not based in the US or in the Bay Area, but I could definitely confirm people moving out from San Francisco. It's definitely, I mean, like I've been there a few times and I tried to live there as many months as I could, and it's definitely, I mean, it's very vibrant, of course, but I think quality of life compared to places in Asia or like even to Austin, Texas, it can get rough, both from the things you see on streets, all the way to kind of expenses. So maybe fortunately or unfortunately, I feel that San Francisco is somewhat like becoming less of a go-to place for both engineering and especially, I mean, in crypto specifically, right? Because I think it's still the quality of talent there is exceptional, and is, no matter what other country would say something that they're like number one, I would kind of be skeptical about it, because like, SF still has really exceptional talent there. But for crypto, for both like development related, I think it's, within the US, it's going to be Austin, New York, Miami, maybe something's going on in Boston. I haven't, I think at least I know, okay, I do know, I think 1 or 2 companies there. But in terms of actual money flow, I would say majority of trades are happening in Asia, because most countries here do not have capital gain tax, especially Singapore. So like a lot of funds, a lot of crypto billionaires are based in Singapore, and no capital gain tax. You can do whatever you want basically. The guy who bought the 69 million artwork from Beeple, he's Singapore based. Vitalik is hanging out here. Rumor has it CZ is here as well, and a few other pretty wealthy people, and not just wealthy, but they're also smart, and they're very actively kind of participating in crypto space, both as developers and investors.
That's funny you say this, because I'm reading this book, The Sovereign Individual, which is like a must read for crypto people. And as I'm reading the book, I kept thinking of Singapore, which is really a typical kind of jurisdiction that will have more in the future. So yeah, for me, it's normal that it fits the crypto people really well.
I mean, like it's really happening. It's both safe, and government is very forward-looking to crypto. I'm not the expert on regulation, so I cannot really comment that much about it. But there are always almost every month there is some sort of new act that is coming out that is supportive, or kind of gives a regulatory clarity on how do you treat these digital assets, and how should you operate as a company that deals with crypto tokens, right? And I think the main thing with when you're trying to figure out where to establish your firm, you want to have the regulatory clarity, right? Whether something's a good or bad, it's okay. Like it's okay. The main thing you do not want to have is uncertainty, right? And here there is a bit more certainty, at least right now. Yes. So.
So guys, once you make it in crypto, you move to Singapore to escape all the tax. Okay, got it?
Maybe you move to Singapore before you do that, so that so that you can actually be able to make it and not be burned by state tax.
Exactly. And a question that I receive often is, how can you find a job in the crypto industry if you're very junior? Because a lot of job posting, they want like some senior people. So yeah, how do you do that?
It's a very good question, and I think it's like from technical, like if you're looking for a technical position, it's definitely great if you're already sort of like senior experienced developer in some other language or some other tech stack. So when company will be interviewing you, they would kind of, it's going to be definitely a plus point, right? That they know that you're someone who's a problem solver, you excelled in your previous career, and that you have a systems thinking, you think about security, things like this, right? So this mindset is definitely something valuable for you to transfer into blockchain development, right? But I think like one of the main pieces of advice is like, do not work alone. So it's okay for you to maybe like join a short-term project just to work with someone from whom you can learn. So for example, even if you're joining a company as maybe a front-end developer, do that, or as a back-end developer, do that, and like kind of ask them if like, hey, I'm really interested in actually picking up Solidity, working more on it, and I'm sure most companies these days are pretty open, so you will be able to have access to the other repositories within that organization, and you'll be able to like maybe ask questions their existing Solidity, maybe senior Solidity developer that is on the team there. I think another way to kind of level up your game is to definitely, I think, you are producing one of the best tutorials in the space. So it's very easy, very digestible, which is, I think, something people should like follow. I myself usually open up some of the guides that you produce. So so yeah, in addition to that, just forking existing projects, trying to run them locally, just get your hands dirty and like don't be afraid of doing that. And like, chip away a few hours every day to kind of level up your experience. I guess work on things that are excite you genuinely. So like, if you're, I don't know, a lot of people, for example, like interested in flash loans these days, right? It's almost a buzzword, but it's still something that you can actually code and experiment with and figure out how to do it, right? So if that's something that excites you, just build this, just build it locally. I mean, ideally, if you can push it to production, it's even better. It's like even additional brownie points, but kind of the more you work on it and not just like, think or have it in your to-do list, the more you actually, you bootstrap new projects, you test your contracts, you do something that already going to give you kind of a leg up compared to other candidates, right? Yeah, I think these are like probably the main points when looking for kind of as a junior, I'd say.
Another thing I wonder is often in these job offers, you have this crazy requirement, like you were saying before, in 2017, people wanted 3D expert with 5 years of experience, which is impossible. So should we really take all of this job offer at face value, or sometimes are some of the requirements a little bit exaggerated?
Yeah, I would. I agree with that, and it's about like, how to put it, it's a balance, right? Because I do indeed, even like on my side on CryptoJobsList, I do see companies sometimes like, we're looking for DevOps with like 10 years of DevOps, C++ plus like Kubernetes plus, and also they have to be in fintech industry and they need to be based in this specific city and like, they need to have experience with Solidity, right? And it's like, good luck. I mean, people like this, they do exist, but you probably not want to be like, you want to be actively headhunting them. They're already happy in their existing jobs and, good luck getting them, right? But I think especially if you're like younger company, you do want to be a bit more kind of, flexible and open to kind of broad range of talent. But I think like from talent standpoint of view, I think there are 2 categories of, especially I think in technical talent, there are some people who are like way too self-conscious. And I think a lot of Aussie developers who start this way, especially those who kind of good, like the more we know that we don't know, like we know that it's, oh my God, this space is super huge. And like, I'm not 100% confident. And we tend to, like a lot of these developers, we tend to kind of underplay ourselves. So we're not fully sure. And we look at this, really tough requirements and we're not really sure how to kind of pitch ourselves and whether we're going to be good enough. And we try to be kind of respectful and not spam the company. And I think that's it's a good intention at heart, but I think you want to be a bit more kind of objective of your skills and like whether you're, do you think you're able to level up to this game, and just be honest, presenting your skill level when you're applying for a company. Yeah, and I think the other category of people who apply to technical positions as well is they're like overly confident, right? They literally yesterday picked up language. Solidity is their first programming language, which is like, I think it's super scary considering how much security thinking you need to apply to it. And they will be like, oh, I can do anything. There's like a bit too much can do attitude, and they list every single programming language on their resume. And I think like, it's okay to be kind of ambitious and like, very optimistic. But I think for those people, like if you guys recognize yourself that you're someone who has like way too many technologies on your resume, and you haven't had like multiple years in a senior role in a company, kind of try to humble down a little bit and like do not spam companies too much. ideally, I think the best thing that you can do is to focus on one technology and be like really an expert in it, one or two technologies, instead of trying to like jump between different tech stacks that are really not even complementary, right? Like if you're C# and then you're like a Python expert, and then you're like a JavaScript expert and React JS, and you can do .NET, it's like it just screams that you're just worse than jack of all trades. When I see companies complain about kind of applicants, it's usually this kind of type. And again, like it's something that it needs to be like self-aware, because I think everyone deserves a good job, and I think there is opportunity for everyone out there, regardless which of these kind of categories you're in. Is just, I think, polishing your presentation a bit better and kind of being a bit more self-aware. Again, like if you're kind of too shy and underrepresenting yourself, you want to maybe like just be honest, like, hey, I'm good at these things, I've done this and that, and but I feel like I would love to level up in this criteria. And people, recruiters, they're also, a lot of them are engineers, right? Especially those who screen resumes, especially at the smaller firms, and they will like, okay, this guy looks like, or this girl looks like they have a potential, but if it's someone just way too many buzzwords, it's a bit tougher.
I think you mentioned you mentioned something important about who check your resume. So depending on the size of the company, the person who write the job advertisement is more or less qualified to do it. And usually, I feel like at smaller company, you're more likely to have an actual developer who actually write the correct things. Whereas at bigger companies, sometimes it's delegated to like some HR person, and that's when you'll have like the crazy requirements that are completely impossible.
Yeah. To be honest, I would say it's the crazy requirements that are completely impossible can be both cases. To be honest, and I feel like even if you're a mid or small size company, you will still, like, for example, I was hiring myself like a few months ago, and what you would list is kind of the ideal candidate, right? It might not exist, but it's the ideal requirements that someone that the company is looking for, right? And if you feel that you're short on some of these criteria that the company is offering, you just be transparent, like, hey guys, I'm good at this and that, and I'm very confident, and whatever, React JS or hard hat, or like maybe, for example, I'm very good at truffle, but I haven't experienced hard hat yet, right? But I'm willing to switch. Or hey, have like 10 years of full stack development, but I'm only recently starting working with Solidity. I've been following Julian, I've been following other courses, I've been doing these experiments. I know that probably not the ideal candidate for this, but I'm willing to learn, and I would love to, like, maybe even take a pay cut, like not as significant. Don't make sure. It is a sensitive topic. Don't let people take advantage too much of you. But I think good company won't anyway. I think just be self-conscious. And I think the best way to be self-conscious is to work with more other people and kind of compare your level. Look at open source code. I think open source code is really some of the best code that I ever see myself.
Open source is awesome, but probably not suited for a beginner, because people who are really beginner, I feel like open source can be really overwhelming, because on top of learning the basic of programming, then you also have to understand the tools, like what is Git, what is GitHub, so first focus on the coding, and then when you feel comfortable, you can start to check out open source. And since we are talking more about the tech, so at the beginning of blockchain in 2017, we didn't have so much tools, but now we start to have more choice. So can you talk a little bit about what kind of tools, frameworks are required by a blockchain company these days?
I think it really depends on what tier the company is hiring for. So, like, again, within technical realm, I'd say there are different types of roles, right? So there are the roles that are, for example, front end, back end, DevOps, a bit more traditional, with kind of bigger supply pool. And then there are roles that are closer to actual like blockchain development, right? And within that space, I would classify that there are kind of Solidity developers, for example, right? Or whatever programming language on whatever chain you're building on. I would say Solidity development is definitely like 90% of the market. right now. And Solidity developers, then there would be someone who's a bit like lower down the stack, like protocol level developers. And a lot of people, like actually a lot of companies I've been noticing, been hiring a lot of Rust developers, followed by Golang developers, right? For, working with, I don't know, Tendermint, Consensus, SDK, and or developing their own protocol, for example, right? Or maintaining like priority client or Geth client that the company runs. Yeah, I think within Solidity development, it's people do look at, or companies do look at your experience with, TypeScript, hard hat. I mean, more and more companies are, looking at hard hat, Open Zeppelin libraries, your knowledge and familiarity with the ERC standards. What else is there? Yeah, and I think from technologies, I think that those are the main things that come to my mind, and that I see most often in job descriptions.
And for most of these job offers, is there any specific blockchain, or is it like really scattered across all different blockchain?
So from what I'm seeing, like majority is Ethereum related development, and also within Ethereum, again, more and more companies starting. I am seeing more and more job descriptions that ask for layer 2 scalability experience, right? Like being able, like if you have experience deploying something on L2, this is something a huge plus, because sooner or later all projects going to be migrating, and more companies are hiring. They want to hire someone who has at least some intention or some like interest in or dabbled in deploying something on L2, on one of the L2s. What else outside of Ethereum? So like I guess recently BSC been popping up a bit more, and I would say like so BSC, Polkadot ecosystem, and I think Solana ecosystem. I haven't seen too many job openings for Solana related projects, to be honest. I think the top ones I would say would be Ethereum, Polkadot, I think followed by BSC, but recently it's been a surge in those kind of opportunities. And
Polygon maybe?
Yeah, but I mean Polygon, you mean Axmatic, right? Aren't you writing Solidity there as well?
Yeah, but I wonder. I mean, there are always, it's mostly the same, but there are always like some small little
differences.
Differences.
Yeah, I think like from what I remember, all the job descriptions that I looked at, there haven't been any like specific preference for Polygon for any specific chain.
So what's I think I think the important takeaway here is that
I'm sure there.
Sorry, I was just saying like the important takeaway is that Ethereum is really the core technology, and then this is reused in many other blockchains. So basically you put the keyword Ethereum in your resume, and this also applies to other projects. Yeah, I think that's my point.
Yeah, I think if the key point is like you include Ethereum and Solidity in your resume, and there is more and more chains that are EVM compatible, it seems to be kind of this is where the industry is going for the next several years.
Absolutely. So let's say I'm an applicant. I'm about to send my application. So is there a sort of checklist I can do before I send my application?
Yeah, sure. So I would say the main things I would focus on is, well, before you even apply, you want to be focused on one technology. You want to have a focus, right? If you are scattered across too many things, you're jack of all trades. Good luck. You want to have a focus. You want to have a certain specialty, right? When applying to job description, sometimes I don't know why it happens, but basically, company would ask for a lot of questions, and the candidate will not answer to them. And I think that's already a huge disqualifier. Like those questions there for a reason. So just answer those questions, follow the instructions, because it's not just about like you're not comfortable asking some question or like you gave a wrong answer. the impression that a company would have of you is like, okay, this guy, it's not even about knowledgeable, but this guy is not able, or this girl is not able to follow instructions. And on a job, that's kind of like the main thing. Like, that this is the definition of a job. Like, you work to fulfill someone's needs, some company's needs, right? Or team's needs. So like, just follow instructions. Your ability to follow instructions in a job description, that's like the first filtering criteria, right? So do answer all questions that are there, answer pre-screening questions. If you're being asked about a target salary, like don't say like a specific number, say a range, right? Because companies are usually flexible, and you should be flexible as well. If you're stuck up at a huge number, you also might overprice yourself, which is also a problem. Especially if you're trying to get into the space, you might want to start maybe at a lower number, and then kind of learn, get more experience, get more confidence, and after a first job, realize that like what's your more real kind of market value. What else? I would say, like clarity of communication, which is again how clearly you answer those questions that are asked by a company, even at the pre-screening stage, where like literally hit submit when you hit apply. So like on CryptoJobsList, for example, we have screening questions, so you just reply to them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is the most important, and this comes down to making choices. You have to be able to make choices, because a lot of people, they want to keep all the options open, and this is not possible. You basically have to say no. You say no. I'm not going to do A, B, C, D. I'm going to do A, and that's what I'm going to communicate for that. This being said, you can also customize your CV for a specific job opportunity. So you can basically present different profile to different people, that if you want to be a little bit more flexible. And so we talk a lot about the technical jobs in blockchain, but can we talk briefly of non-technical job in the space?
Yeah, so there's actually, like, I think one of the main misconceptions about crypto space, when people want to join it, they think like, oh, you need to be a PhD, cryptography, research. It's only for tech people, only for engineers, which is not the case. I would say more than maybe 60% of jobs are actually non-technical. Mainly they would classify under like marketing, social media management, community management. So community management is actually a pretty important one, because it might sound like, oh, you just stay on Discord and on Slack and Telegram all day long, but it's actually quite a skill, because you need to like manage the conflict, or manage the shilling, identify which parts are which comments are legit and which comments are like outright scam. You also want to make sure like not to piss people off, because sometimes, like I myself been in some communities where you actually adding value. You, for example, like I'm helping a few communities like promote jobs in their cities, right? And one of those communities banned me, and I'm like, I'm adding value to you guys. Like you guys are a bit too fast to ban people. Like maybe you want to consider things a bit better. And like, I mean, like I'm okay being banned, but like, what if it is some huge whale, and you by accident banned a huge whale with like 6-7 digits in their wallet, right? Yeah. So being being a community manager is actually requires quite a bit of IQ, quite a bit of social skills, and also, of course, understanding all the lingo, all the wallets, how to provide support. I think did you want to add something? I think you wanted to say something.
I think you said something interesting about like whales, like kicking out rails out of your community, and that's something I noted in the crypto industry, is that everything seems more horizontal compared to other industry. Like you can be on a Telegram chat with different people, and you think like everybody is exactly at the same level. Yes, maybe on the surface, but you don't know who is who, because this is very, very informal. So yeah, and in some cases you want to be careful what you say, but this is also an opportunity, because we can interact with these people in ways that we couldn't. Like, for example, before I was in the finance industry, and no, you cannot just be in the same room as the CEO or this top guy when you're the junior guy. So there's also a big opportunity, but that also means that we got to be careful when we interact with people online, because everything is noted, is logged, and so we want to be careful for sure. But so the takeaway here is that there are some non-tech jobs in the blockchain industry. And actually, you're saying these are the majority of jobs. I'm actually surprised. I thought the majority were developer jobs. Okay, so now I would like to talk about something very interesting for everybody is what kind of salary you can expect as a blockchain developer, or maybe give a range depending on the seniority.
Sure. Okay. So I think, yeah, I actually thought about this quite a bit before we started the call, because it's definitely such a sensitive topic for a lot of people. But also I kind of realized that there's no silver bullet answer to this, right? I think in the end of the day, it will still depend on where you're based and what the company you're working for, right? And what's your seniority level, right? So I would say in the United States, salaries on average are a bit higher, right? Just bigger market, and companies hope that you will have you're able to use your skills to satisfy that market. But I'd say it can be anywhere from $5,000-$6,000 a month, which kind of sounds maybe a bit average for engineering role, but if you're a junior, that's probably what you can aim for. And it can be all the way to 12, 16, 20 grand a month. But I would say most companies, they would not pay this much on your first job unless you're already super highly reputable person. And probably at this level, after maybe 20 grand a month, maybe 40, something like this, you probably would be better off starting your own thing, or you'll be working on some sort of percentage equity sort of base. But again, it's really it's definitely a very popular question. But I kind of looked more at the numbers and I realized just because it's such there's no company that would hire 20 Solidity developers or 20 blockchain developers. They maybe want to, but I don't think they will be able to either hire them or put them to productive use, right? Versus if you're at Google or at Facebook, you can have 50, 60, 70, 100 iOS developers, right? So it's a kind of bigger market. So it's a bit easier to standardize the salary ranges, right? Versus in crypto, I'd say it's a bit harder to just count the number of Solidity developers. Their experience can vary. I think also the type of project you work on can vary significantly, right?
So I think it's what you're saying is it's a little bit harder to commoditize development in blockchain. It's a little bit less than that, and actually it's positive for employees because it means that they have more opportunities to market themselves and basically present themselves as very unique and basically negotiate a higher salary. Whereas if there is a market rate for for example, a JavaScript developer or an iOS developer, it's going to be hard to really justify why you should be paid higher than the average. So that's one good thing to keep in mind. Also, another thing I wanted to add is that on top of the cash part of your remuneration, oftentimes you also have a bonus in tokens. And usually you can have more flexibility in the negotiation there. So that's how you can really reach a good salary. You have the cash part and you can negotiate 20, 30% in tokens. And they probably will be much more willing to give you this.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. I think one of the things about tokens that I wanted to comment on, and I think it's kind of an interesting observation that I also made, is that back in 2017, 2018, some companies will actually, we pay in tokens or in tokens only. And I think the initial response, back then, a few years ago, people will be I think a lot of people got burned a little bit, maybe a lot. I hope not a lot, but a lot of these tokens were never launched. They would never go on an exchange, and there will be a lot of skepticism. I think after a few waves of these hiring sprees that companies would go through, a lot of developers in the market, they would just want cash, or BTC or ETH or some stable coin. But I think right now in 2020, what I'm seeing both by talking to companies and looking at the job descriptions is more and more, and also talking to talent, right? More and more talent is open to receiving those tokens, and they actually will, interested in doing that, right? And it feels even almost like a better version of ESOP, of employee stock option plan, or RSU, restricted stock units, right? Because they're actually more liquid most of the time. Now that we have Uniswap, SushiSwap, Balancer, Kyber, you name it, right? It's very easy to create a pool of liquidity and exchange your tokens, right? I would definitely still recommend founders to have some like lockup period so that your employees, I think it's a good incentive for everyone to have some sort of like vesting schedule, right? So that you cannot just immediately dump all your tokens, right? But I think the liquidity is way easier for you to just take your tokens. I'm sure there is a pool somewhere that you can swap them for ETH or USDC or DAI, and have like more confidence that your tokens actually worth something from day one, instead of like praying for
the acquisition or something.
For acquisition, or when exchange.
This is a very good point, because there were a lot of employees working for a startup who got completely screwed with their stock, RSU or something. I think famously the employees of Skype got screwed, like a lot of them. Because they are this so-called dilution clause,
liquidation preferences, all those things.
Well, basically, new investor, they get preference over employees in case of an acquisition. And when you're an employee, maybe you don't really have all the time and all the regulatory knowledge to really dig into all these legal agreements, and you discover all these things too late. Whereas if you paid in tokens, then you can just read the smart contract. You're a coder, and if there's anything weird, then you can see it right away. So it's a really, really big thing. And I wanted to ask you about a crazy job posting I saw on your website. I don't know if it's a mistake or not, but
sure.
I think I saw this on Twitter, a job post with a salary of $600,000.
600. Do you remember the name of it?
I think it was something for Solidity, but it was like a few months ago. But I saw that, I was like, what?
Maybe someone. I think we do like this monthly salary reports. Maybe someone submitted like 600,000, but I think it was like an error or something. So it was not a real number. But I think I thought you're gonna mention some of the meme job posts, because like I think one of the things that I love about the industry is that there's like all these like anonymous companies, and they would post like CACs and like all the other like numbers go up, memes as their avatars, and the job descriptions, they're just hilarious to read through. Like I'm degen, retired after like having an honest farm, and now I want to give my token empire to someone else. It's just like pure entertainment. But of course, and you can apply and work for them. So
I said that there's one more thing to talk about this anonymous project. Like, do you think it'd be a good idea to work for an anonymous project and put it in your CV? Like, what would be the value of this on the job market?
I mean, it probably is going to be value of zero for the traditional job market. In crypto, in the end of the day, what matters is what project you worked for. Like, I mean, if a project has a name, but it's just run by anonymous people, it's fine, because people will still know the project, and people will still find out whether it's what's the ending of that project. Is it a happy ending, or is it a not so, or is it a rug pull? I think it's very normal to work for anonymous projects, and we're actually seeing quite a lot of like job applications to those projects, which is actually pretty exciting.
Absolutely. So for a blockchain developer who want to find a crypto job, I recommend to check out CryptoJobsList, because this is where you're going to see the largest number of job opening in the space. And you can also follow Raman on Twitter for a lot of jobs related to the job market. So thank you, Raman, for coming here on the show. That was very interesting for both people who are looking for jobs in the blockchain industry, and also people who want to entrepreneurs, people who want to hire blockchain employees also. So thank you, Raman, and good luck with CryptoJobsList.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Julian. Thanks everyone for having me. Reach out, follow us on Twitter. We're happy to respond to questions and help you guys match with great companies and find great talent as well.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Let's move crypto forward.
Yeah.
See ya.